Morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Anuj Chawla. And as he said, we have a long association. We always refer to his particular project of his FAMA fellowship during our teaching sessions of project management and evaluation. And his was one of the projects that got internalized and became a part of the physiology curriculum in our country. So the topic that is allotted for this particular session is AI-assisted assessment, and with focus on increasing objectivity and minimizing the bias in assessment. What is noticeable here is our institute is entering the 100th year next year, that is 2025-26, is going to mark our centenary year. So this is the logo which has been released as a part of that particular celebration. At the outset, I'd like to thank the organizers of Armed Forces Medical College and in particular Dr. Dipanjan. And it feels very nice to be here. I visited AFMC around 11 years back, so nice memories. I would also like to thank our Dean, Dr. Sangeeta Rawat, our HOD Anatomy, Dr. Kishore Kushale. They always keep on encouraging us in all academic endeavors. Not to mention the least, Dr. Avinash Suppe, founder director of GSMC FAMER. So he's one of our mentors, great mentors, under whom we have actually flourished in medical education. We have learned a lot from him, and also about the topic of artificial intelligence. He has given a series of talks on artificial intelligence over the last, I think, so many years, and we have learned quite a lot from him. Also to mention Dr. Chinmay Shah, HOD Physiology of GMC Bhavnagar. He's a very techno-savvy fellow, and lots of inputs taken from him for this particular session. The resources used are from Department of Medical Education at our place in GSMC FAMER Regional Institute. So to start, we are familiar with this. We'll see this video first. Volume, please.
आप मुस्कुरा क्यों रहे हैं?
एक्चुअली सर बचपन से चाहता था कि इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में पढूं. आज यहाँ बैठा हूँ, बहुत मजा आ रहा है सर.
ज्यादा मजा लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. बोलो, मशीन का डेफिनेशन बोलो.
सर, a machine is anything that reduces human effort, sir.
Will you please elaborate?
सर, हर वो चीज जो इंसान का काम आसान करे या वक्त बचाए, वो मशीन है सर. गर्मी लग गई, बटन दबाया, हवा चालू, फैन, मशीन है सर. मीलों दूर आप अपने दोस्त के साथ बात कर सकते हैं, टेलीफोन, मशीन है सर. करोड़ों का हिसाब चुटकी में करता है, कैलकुलेटर, मशीन है सर. सर, एक्चुअली हम मशीनों से घिरे हुए हैं सर. पेन की निब से लेके पैंट की जिप तक सब मशीन है सर.
एक सेकंड में अप, एक सेकंड में डाउन, अप डाउन, डाउन. डेफिनेशन क्या है
सर? वही तो बता रहा हूँ सर.
एग्जाम में ये सब लिखोगे? ये मशीन है, अप डाउन, अप डाउन. इडियट. एनीबॉडी एल्स? यस.
Sir, machines are any combination of bodies so connected that their relative motions are constrained, and by which means force and motion may be transmitted and modified as a screw in its nut, or a lever arranged to turn about a fulcrum, or a pulley about its pivot, etc. Especially a construction more or less complex, consisting of a combination of moving parts or simple mechanical elements as wheels, levers, cams, etc.
Perfect. Please sit down.
Thank you. Thank you.
लेकिन सर, मैंने भी तो वही बताया सर, आसान भाषा में.
आपको तो सिंपल भाषा पसंद हो तो आर्ट्स एंड कॉमर्स कॉलेज ज्वाइन कीजिए.
लेकिन सर, मतलब भी तो समझ में आना चाहिए. ऐसे किताबी डेफिनेशन रट के क्या फायदा?
आप किताब से ज्यादा जानते हैं. किताब में यही डेफिनेशन है, और अगर आपको पास होना हो तो आप यही लिखेंगे.
लेकिन सर, और भी तो किताबें हैं जिसमें
भाई आसान भाषा में भर जाइए. Idiot. So we were discussing about the machine. अरे, तुम वापस क्यों आए हो?
सर, कुछ भूल गया हूं सर.
क्या?
Instruments that record, analyze, summarize, organize, debate, and explain information that are illustrative, non-illustrative, hardbound, paperback, jacketed, non-jacketed, with forward introduction, table of contents, index that are intended for the enlightenment, understanding, enrichment, enhancement, and education of the human brain through sensory route of vision, sometimes touch.
अरे कहना क्या चाहते हो?
किताबें सर, बुक्स. नोट्स बोल के आंसर ले लूं।
तो सीधा सीधा नहीं कह सकते थे?
थोड़ी देर पहले कोशिश की थी सर, लेकिन आपको सीधा सीधा पसंद नहीं आया।
So if we try and equate AI with this, is something like this. Like if something can ease our work, then that probably is AI. So what we are going to discuss in this particular session is, firstly, we'll have a brief introduction of AI, which all of us are aware. We are in the phase of exploring. We have explored a lot actually in the last 5 years or so. Because of the boom of technology, we have explored this a lot. Then something about the emergence of artificial intelligence in medical education, then evolution of assessment in medical education, emergence of AI in assessment, then something about authentic assessment and AI, how improving objectivity and reducing bias can happen. And finally, I'll wind up with this power of subjectivity. So we all know definition, as we saw, definition of artificial intelligence is basically technology that enables computers and machines to simulate. It is going to simulate human learning, comprehension, understanding, and problem solving, decision making, creativity, and autonomy. So anything that a human being does, if a computer or machine does, then that will be AI. But there are various subcomponents. What is AI? AI is a very large pool, whereas under AI, there is something called as machine learning and deep learning. So AI is the ability of the machine to imitate intelligent human behavior, whereas machine learning is application of that AI that allows the system to automatically learn. So the machine is interacting with the data and then automatically it is learning and fine-tuning itself. So that is experience. And then finally, deep learning is something that the machine learning is applied, and that uses complex algorithms and deep neural nets to train a model. So that is how this deep learning is a subset of the entire artificial intelligence, with machine learning coming in between. And this was emphasized further in one of the recent papers published in Academic Medicine, the same 3 circles. We are all familiar with this. When we look at history of AI, people thinking of having a car without a driver, because driver is right now probably an extinct or probably a luxury, lot of luxury and lot of expenditure is involved. So Google, of course, came up with this driverless car. When we look at artificial intelligence in medical education, there are multiple uses that AI has. One is, of course, it can be used for teaching and learning. It can be used for student assessment, for curriculum development, for research, for student support, and also for administration. So AI has actually tried and eased out a lot of things for all these aspects of medical education. We're familiar with this. But if we are not using AI properly, things can go horribly wrong. Okay, anyone knows the name of this movie? तेरी बातों ने उलझा दिया, correct. So Kriti Sanon is acting like a robo. Okay, AI, all the algorithms fed by this person. And then if something goes wrong, that is what is shown in this movie. Another movie that comes to my mind is, of course, this. Has everyone watched this? Was this totally on AI, right? So if wrong commands, wrong algorithms, AI itself, okay, machine learning, you say, machine is interacting and machine is learning from the interactions. So if things go wrong, then things can go horribly wrong. And that's what is shown in this. So there are lots of concerns and challenges when we are using AI for anything in education. So of course, as in healthcare, that was just talked in the previous session, there are a lot of ethical issues and dilemmas that may come up in education as well. There is always human and computer interaction that will be there. Human oversight is needed even if AI is used for educational purposes. Teacher-student interaction is going to be reduced if there is tremendous use of AI. Then of course, when AI is used for education, there is a question of quality control, whether what is being done or what mechanisms are used in AI actually are constantly monitored, what is happening with that. So coming to fairness and bias, it all depends on what algorithms are fed in AI. It depends on that. So therefore, even when we say AI, human element is still there because it's the humans who have actually created those algorithms. So there could be errors and fallacies if we don't actually keep continuously monitoring it. Then, of course, if more and more AI comes into picture, there is a possibility that the learners may end up having decay in their own skills that they are learning. Of course, AI comes with a cost, and like in healthcare, in education also, there might be various legal issues that might come up with AI. Now, coming to how AI and assessment, let's look at a brief history of how assessment has evolved over a period of time. This is a very busy slide if you look at it, but basically I want to emphasize here is early era of assessment primarily concentrated on rote learning. So basically, recall of memory was what was assessed. So in the form of, say, theory questions, multiple choice tests, and the viva voce or oral examinations focused on total memorization and recall of facts. The next era, which is the standardization era, what happened then was everything moved towards objectivity. Everything which is objective was considered as a very fair assessment, and that is what is the feature of the standardization era when the advent of objective structured clinical examination, etc. started. And then, of course, came the competency-based era, where the emphasis was on assessing competencies across multiple domains, which are having multiple domains. So there came the advent of workplace-based assessments, where emphasis was on self-assessment and lifelong learning. And adding to that competency-based era, the next era is authentic assessment era. Can we say that what we have assessed, whatever we have certified the persons, they are really worth of it? So that is authentic assessment era, which happens in real scenario, real-time situations, and ample feedback is given to the learners so that they can improve upon the shortcomings that are there. So that is authentic assessment era. And of course, adding to that is the current era where we are living in the artificial intelligence era. So basically what we want the learners to do while assessing them is finally they have to have the glimpse of the real world of patient care. So even if we are trying to simulate, we have to ensure that that simulation is near realism. So as we know, there are medical graduate attributes in our country, the roles that are envisaged for the Indian medical graduate, 5 roles which became now the 7 roles of Indian medical graduate. Now there are current challenges which exist in assessment, of course. There is a variety of information that we generate when we conduct assessments throughout the curriculum. But then actionable data gets hidden in this mass of variety of information that we are generating. Of course, those constraints are there. There is lack of expertise and lack of time for data processing which we are generating. Bias can be explicit and implicit with respect to gender, ethnicity, and learning styles. And transformation of data doesn't happen into a meaningful feedback. So that is what is a challenging situation. And our medical continuum, if we see, is more like fragmented, it's divided into phases, discipline-based, although we have tried to build in the competency pattern in our curriculum. Now, how AI has emerged in assessment and how people have built over AI, use of AI in assessment. So various ways in which AI has got integrated into assessment is, they started with system-facing concept of AI. Then there are certain tools which are student-facing. There are certain tools which are teacher-facing, and certain tools which actually are examination-facing. So this is how it's classified. And of course, in the latter half of the day, you're going to deliberate. People are going to deliberate on generative AI and immersive AR and VR simulations in the next subsequent sessions. So these are the different ways in which AI has emerged in assessment. Just a word on this generative AI. As the word suggests, generate. AI is going to generate for us a lot of information in different forms, for teaching also and for assessment also. AI-assisted assessment in medical education has been practiced in various ways. One is objective structured clinical examinations, the OSCEs. So AI-powered video analysis is done, and then the student's performance is assessed in real time, analyzing communication, procedural accuracy, and even body language. So algorithms have been created where this assessment is done. Same way, speech and text analysis tools also evaluate diagnostic reasoning or history taking skills. And even facial emotion recognition can measure empathy and emotional connection with simulated patients. So this is what level AI has actually reached. Then as far as diagnostic reasoning is concerned, that's pretty obvious that if we give certain situations, the responses given by the learners is going to obviously be analyzed by the AI, and diagnostic reasoning is accordingly assessed. There are image-based assessments which are provided. So images are provided and the learners actually give responses and the AI tool generates the assessment. Okay. How accurate is the diagnosis that is reached based on the image that is shown? Then, of course, we are very, very familiar with the knowledge-based assessments. In fact, many of us also have tried our hand in setting an MCQ using ChatGPT, right? There have been n number of papers of, say, how ChatGPT generated questions have stood the test of time, etc. Okay. So, knowledge-based assessments. And then procedural skill assessment in the form of simulations, and soft skills and professionalism assessment in the form of analysis of the communication skills. Now coming to what authentic assessment is. If you look at authentic assessment, we say that it has to mimic as close as possible to the real life situation. So there are 3 dimensions and there are 8 elements which constitute authentic assessment. The 3 dimensions are realism is the first one. Then of course, this assessment has to pose a cognitive challenge. And finally, the judgment has to be evaluated. So these are 3 dimensions of authentic assessment. 8 elements are, there has to be a challenge on the product. Then there has to be metacognition, the level of accuracy, how often or how close the transfer of information has happened during assessment. Feedback is an essential component, and whether it gives collaboration, and what is the level of fidelity that we are actually using in AI generated authentic assessments. Now, there is a list of possible AI tools that are used for designing authentic assessments. Now, there's a list on the left side, which are the various platforms that people have tried and developed to use. What is the description of each of these platforms? What is the focus of assessment? And what are the features of each assessment tool? But there are certain limitations of each assessment tool. So people have tried to build in these AI tools for various skills to be assessed, like communication skills, then surgical skills training, reasoning, then virtual patients for various scenarios. So if you see, there's a variety that has been tried, and these are the AI generated tools that have been developed. At the same time, there have been proposed ideas also for AI infused authentic assessments. So for the various concepts that we are listed on this side, there are platforms that have been created here. For example, we're all familiar with this virtual dissection table, Anatomage. And there are so many others that have come up in the market after Anatomage. And over a period of time, the developments that have happened in these virtual dissection tables are also tremendous. Okay, so it's not only for learning anatomy by undergraduate students, but also for feeding in patient data and then trying and practicing out what are the steps required, what are the next steps required for management of such. So like that, for drug mechanisms, for communication skills, for surgical training and disease trainees in pulmonology. So these are all examples that are available. Now, there's another concept, like we heard in the previous session about precision medicine. There is also a concept called as precision education. In that precision education, as we said, these 5 things which are the limitations of the current system of assessment, the AI generated assessment can be used as precision education, like in precision medicine. Now, like there was, say, wave 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, similarly for education also, now current version is 5.0. So 5.0 version of education actually gives us this particular chart, which shows what is the goal of the education, what are the technology or AI tools that can be used for achieving these goals. So this is for accessibility and immersive education is a principle, and virtual reality, augmented reality is used as a tool. Similarly, for flexibility and accessibility, it is Internet of Things. Adaptability, decision making, AI and machine learning is used. Security and privacy of data, blockchain is used. Data-driven decision making, big data and analytics, and collaboration and connectedness, gamification is used for that. Now, what are the current and potential uses of cases for AI in medical education assessment? There's a whole list that is made available. What is the challenge in assessment? What is the solution? What is the specific AI approach? And where they have cited in research. That's what is given in this particular table. So when we say there is a lot of data, so what can be done is automated data analysis and pattern recognition can be done, and classification and algorithms can be used, and this is already quoted in a study. Then when there is resource constraints in data processing, what can be done is cloud-based processing solutions can be done, and cloud computing with AI optimization can be specifically used. If we feel that there are biases in assessments using AI, then we need to have provisions for detection of those biases, neutralization using specific algorithms. Similarly, if we want to look at other aspects of the problems that are faced in the current system of assessment, provide solutions. So this is what is available in literature that is quoted. That is, the paper in Academic Medicine has actually given this data. So feedback, when we say feedback is not available, so feedback has to be inbuilt in authentic assessments. So we can try and use AI-driven simulation tools for evaluation, providing feedback. Now, the bottom line, however, is so much said about objectivity. AI produces objectivity. AI can actually look at how the learner is performing in various assessment techniques or various assessment methods. But at the same time, what is going to happen is AI has been built by a human being. AI is not generated on its own. Okay. So therefore, if we look at AI and competency-based assessment, which is the current need, I'll still say that the bottom line is there is nothing like the power of subjectivity. Because subjectivity, gives that human touch, human experience, and finally, if I ask you, will you believe data from the internet and go and buy data from the people who are marketing a product and buy a device in the market? Or would you like to talk with a person who has already used that particular product? How many of you will say only will go by the reports which are available in the, in the internet? Or would you like to have a first-hand information from a person who has used the device? So always would like to have that subjective element there. So similar is a thing for assessment also. So to summarize, what we did was we firstly looked at the possible avenues of AI in assessment and how AI actually tries to bring in that objectivity and tries to reduce this bias because of that. However, you must remember that because we are dealing with Generation Z, we have to embrace technology. So like in the previous session, it was said that it will not replace the current assessments, but it can augment the current assessment. So that's what can be done. So if we don't embrace the technology, we'll be left behind. There'll be others who will take up those assessments. So we must embrace technology. AI can assist and simplify many aspects of assessment. However, things may go wrong. So therefore, constant monitoring is needed and quality assurance must be ensured. And finally, this is never going to change. Human touch must always exist in assessment, like in healthcare. Okay. So with this, I close this session. Thank you very much for a patient hearing. I'll be happy to have questions.
Thank you, Dr. Iyer, for that very crisp and very comprehensive overview of where AI can come in as far as assessments go. I think what's important is to understand that, when we think of using AI-based assessments, there have to be built-in mechanisms to combat algorithmic biases which might come in. And as you rightly mentioned, that there would always be a human element. So the quality of data that goes into the formulation of these algorithms becomes extremely important. And of course, other issues like ensuring privacy and data security and equitable access for everyone. In fact, there was an interesting book I was reading the other day called The Fourth Education Revolution by Anthony Seldon, where he mentions that AI, if used correctly, over the entire training duration of a learner, can provide you so much data that you may actually not need to do a summative assessment at the end of it. So very interesting concepts. The house is open for any comments, questions that you might have. There seem to be none. I think, sir, you've been.
Complete overview of assessment and AI. So that's really been very well covered and very nice. We see that any assessment patterns the students tend to game. It's a game. For example, the MCQs become ultimately a question bank. And for every assessment tool, they have those, how to crack that game. So how do you foresee that, how the students will react to using assessment tools with AI, and how can we, just your comments on that?
Yeah. So if you look at the current generation, they are so much in tune with technology that it becomes very, very easy for them to adapt to any new tool that comes in the market. So if we look at how they actually work, even as team, we have had these experiences of students organizing events. So they are very, very proactive and they are very, very technology savvy. We lag so much behind that we are unaware of so many things. So therefore, naturally, for every new tool that even we as, say, teachers and our colleges and administrators will try to get in that technology, students are bound to equally, accept that and embrace that very easily. So it is not going to be difficult at all for students. It's just a matter of time that students pick up this.
Hello. Dr. Iyer, great talk, I must say. I just want to know whether in the future AI is going to completely overtake the assessment schedules, or there's in medicine, in medical education, we have both, as you said, clinical, non-clinical, and their assessments are a lot of it is subjective.
Yes.
It also all depends on how they have done over the period of their training, period of their phase in MBBS, and how they have answered the questions face to face, rather than just subjecting them to a AI. So do you think that in the future this is going to completely overtake, or we still in our medical assessments are going to continue with our subjective assessments?
Yeah, I think for us, if we consider medical assessments, I don't think so AI will completely replace this at all. Because unless we are 100% sure that the technology is foolproof, which probably is not going to happen ever in future, this subjective element will always be there. And driving the concept of competency-based assessment. If we look at competency-based assessment, right now what the world is thinking is trying to have something called as a program of assessment or programmatic assessment. So what is the world experimenting with is replacing the concept of, say, the so-called formative assessment and a summative assessment. And they're trying to do away with the total, complete summative assessment. What's happening is multiple low-stake assessments are being experimented, and then the data points that are generated by these low-stake assessments, they are now then collated together, and finally an independent clinical competency committee is appointed to actually look at those data points and finally give a decision of the assessment. So obviously, if the world is moving towards this, to record the data and process the data, if there are so many data points that are generated, maybe AI may play a big role. But finally, the decision making will still have that subjective element, and that is going to be always, it is going to be stronger than probably the AI. Sir.
Very nicely covered. I think the main concern about AI today is what the advantage of AI is going to be learning analytics.
Yes.
I think we are all talking about the same, that AI is going to make a lot of impact onto your whole progress, how it has happened. For example, you are a surgeon and I'm trying to improve my skills. Now, previously, the surgeon used to see and see, okay, he has done this operation well. But the AI will generate learning analytics score and will tell you which are my movements which need to work more, and it will do without your teacher. Now, that's the role of AI. Ultimately, some amount of summative and subjective element is going to remain. But probably this hard work faculty used to really put, that probably will be replaced by AI learning analytics. And that is getting more popularity all over the world. And we should also use it for that purpose. It should be complementary, definitely not relieving the subject matter.
Thank you, sir.
Colonel Apte.
The way we do the validity and reliability of our assessments.
Yeah, it's something like if things go right, nobody is questioned. If things go wrong, that is when the question and the accountability will come into picture. So therefore, yes, the same principles which we use for any assessment tool that is generated or developed, the same principles will have to be used even for AI generated assessment tools. So we will have to calculate those values of reliability and validity and then finally bring it as a part of our assessment.
My name is Colonel Apte. I'm a retired teacher of physiology. I just have a very simple question. I just want to know that have you, in the St. GS Medical College where you work, have you actually used any AI-based models in your educational programs or assessments? And if you have, what has been your experience?
Okay, let me share a simple example. We have not used any particular AI generated tool for any program. But if you remember, in the COVID era, we all were forced to use different technological tools that were available. See, one such example that I can give is we use Google Classroom. Many of us must have used Google Classroom. Now, in Google Classroom, there is one element that is available that if a learner is made to supply responses to questions, then we can build in rubrics for assessment of those responses. So this becomes an example, sort of an example where it is machine assisted, it is intelligence assisted there. So if we create those rubrics there, automatically the assessment comes from the responses which are supplied by the students in that Google Classroom. So this was a simple thing that we tried to experiment. However, it became cumbersome subsequently because too many frequent things and to assess, and students getting that opportunity to type the responses, that was becoming a big challenge for us. Okay, so that is one example that I could share that we have used at GS Medical College.
I think that will be the last question in the interest of time, and then.
Morning, sir. I'm Vijay. So I just wanted to ask, is there any scope of a tactile element with AI? Like what we have been taught by our teachers, you need to feel a nerve, you need to feel a vessel. That element is yet to be incorporated with AI as far as I'm aware. It is not, because the visual part with all the 3D imaging coming in, that is definitely there. But the tactile elements, that's still missing.
Yeah, I think what sir will be talking about in the next session is simulation and etc. At that time, he'll throw more light on that. But I don't think so in assessment is going to be possible, and even in learning. Learning skills, probably robotic surgery, etc. AI has made a lot of impact. But I don't think so in assessment and in learning fundamental, say anatomy, for example, as a basic science, that tactile thing that you're asking, I don't think so that has developed so far.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Iyer, for that wonderful session. And
This question, I think you can go and meet the person in the ENT department for your haptics query. Here they have a software and the hardware of Voxelman, which does temporal bone dissections. And if you can walk right up to the ENT department, you can get the real feel of the haptics also, which you are talking about. The feel of tissues, the feel of the bone, and the feel of the dura. All those things you can get it. It is there very much.
kindly